That's a bad idea. That's a bad idea.
Thought I would win against Anthony, but here I am with a broken jaw, learning the hard way. I'll heal, and I'll be back.
The Kaseya Center in Miami was buzzing with electric energy one moment, and then boom, complete silence the next. Anthony Joshua's right hook found its target in round 6 and didn't just drop Jake Paul. It straight up deleted the atmosphere from that entire arena. The noise just died instantly, replaced by this heavy quiet that nobody saw coming.
6, 7, 8.
That right hand connected with surgical precision. The cameras captured the exact second when everything became crystal clear to everyone watching. This wasn't some fluke slip or bad timing. This wasn't something Jake could turn into content later or joke about on Twitter. Minutes before, Jake had been strutting around that ring like he owned the place. Completely relaxed, drinking in all the attention like always. Then suddenly, everything flipped. Medical team rushing in, his jaw broken into fragments. Fight over way too early, and years of carefully built narrative completely shattered in front of millions. That whiplash moment hit everyone so hard because this wasn't just another L on the record books. This was the moment a protected bubble finally burst. Man got absolutely demolished. Jake Paul didn't accidentally stumble into boxing success. His whole career was mapped out with laser focus. Every opponent handpicked for maximum reward with minimum risk. Weight advantages carefully maintained. He ducked the real killers early on and instead picked names that brought eyeballs and pay-per-view money without bringing genuine danger. Older guys past their best days, smaller fighters who couldn't match his frame, or athletes from other sports who lacked boxing fundamentals. The blueprint worked perfectly for years. 12 wins, 7 knockouts, impressive numbers on paper. Millions bought into the legitimacy completely. Media ran with it because it drove traffic. Influencers boosted every victory for the content value. Critics got labeled as jealous haters who couldn't handle change.
Boxing is not a game. Fighting is not something you pick up and mess around with, right? If you're a fighter, if you're a boxer, if you're a mixed martial artist, right, you have to take this seriously and you have to respect the game.
But here's what nobody wanted to admit out loud: that whole system only functions when every variable stays locked down tight. Jake always dictated terms, conditions, timing. Size advantages were everything in his opponent's selection. Weight differences mattered more than people realized. Experience gaps were the secret ingredient. Those details stayed buried under flashy highlight packages and endless confidence. The real threat was never any single fighter on any given night. The real threat was believing your own mythology could travel anywhere. That success, built in a controlled lab, would somehow translate against a legitimate championship-level heavyweight with nothing left to prove. Anthony Joshua destroyed that fantasy permanently. This wasn't some fun celebrity boxing exhibition or entertainment spectacle. Joshua showed up as exactly what he's always been, a professional heavyweight destroyer with 26 knockouts and real consequences in both fists. He didn't need storylines or social media beef to sell himself. From the opening bell, the skill gap was painfully visible to anyone paying attention. Jake wasn't boxing in there. He was just trying to survive, grabbing and holding whenever possible, wrestling to buy time, desperately trying to slow down a fight he couldn't control through technique. The speed difference, timing advantage, and raw power were already too much from minute 1. The ending was written before they even touched gloves.
Counter right. There's the right hand. Jake Paul goes down again. Man, he's punished.
Joshua remained patient and calculated throughout. He didn't rush for some highlight reel finish. He didn't chase viral knockout moments. Just waited for his opening like a professional. Round 5 brought the warning shots. Jake hit the canvas hard, then again eating canvas twice in one round. Each knockdown drained more confidence from his face. You could literally watch it leak out. Round 6 wasn't dramatic or theatrical when it arrived. Just inevitable physics, like dominoes toppling. One perfectly timed right hand with flawless placement. The Kaseya Center bearing witness to a boxing lesson.
Best shot at the moment. Not that much is going to happen. And it almost... Oh, there's a left hook.
When Jake couldn't beat the count on that canvas, the numbers painted a devastating picture. First knockout loss of his career, something he'd avoided until this night. Second defeat overall, record now reads 12 wins, 2 losses. Those stats don't negotiate. Meanwhile, Anthony Joshua strolled out with win number 29 and knockout number 26, like this was just Tuesday night work for him. Nothing unusual. Jake left that building with a fractured jaw requiring immediate surgery, hospitalization stretching for days, and a liquid diet lasting weeks. You can debate scorecards and argue decisions, but you can't spin bone fragments. That's a receipt that doesn't care about subscriber count.
About your social media following.
Bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what, a lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what they finally been waiting for.
The fight.
The real damage didn't stop when the referee called it off. That's what everyone keeps missing in their breakdowns. The final bell didn't end Jake's problems. The 10 count didn't stop the consequences from arriving. Reality showed up hours later with medical bills, x-rays, and doctors who don't give a damn about YouTube fame. Fractured jaw requiring surgical reconstruction. Hospital stays for monitoring. Surgery to reassemble the pieces. That's not vlog material you can laugh off for your audience. That's your body sending an invoice to your ego, and there's no disputing those charges. Almost immediately, everything changed tone. The trash talk vanished from his socials. Tweet frequency dropped to nothing. The same guy who documented every breath of his career suddenly went radio silent, because when your jaw's wired shut and you're drinking meals through a straw for weeks, confidence feels completely different. This wasn't a black eye that fades or bruised ribs you can tape up. This was a permanent reminder that fighting real heavyweights brings consequences that outlast the broadcast. All that bravado looks great under press conference lights. Looks way less impressive in a hospital gown waiting for surgery.
She'll fight for a second. It happened in the 6th round, and it happened in a 22-foot ring. A typical ring is 20 foot. This one was 22 foot because he wanted a bigger room to operate, a bigger space, a bigger ring, somewhere.
That brutal contrast is why this hit the public so differently. Hours earlier, Jake was strutting confidently, posing for cameras, basking in attention like always. Now he's surrounded by medical staff discussing recovery timelines and surgical procedures. That's why this loss cut deeper than anything before. Fans can meme a decision loss and move forward. They can joke about knockdowns for entertainment, but surgical procedures and broken bones aren't funny anymore. That's accountability showing up with a bill, boxing's version of a receipt you cannot return. While Jake was dealing with surgeons and facing reality, Dana White was dealing with vindication, being proven right in the most brutal way imaginable. Dana wasn't jumping into this conversation after the knockout landed. He'd been sounding alarms about this matchup long before fight night, called it a terrible idea publicly and repeatedly. Straight up said Jake was entering territory where he didn't belong. At the time, people dismissed it completely, said Dana was bitter about influencer boxing, said he feared the crossover trend. Said he was threatened by Jake's popularity, disrupting traditional combat sport.
I need to give this guy a systematic breakdown. I know what type of fighter he is, and I said I'm going to take his soul, and I said I'm going to see it leaving his body round after round, and when the time comes, some people are just there to get knocked out. And I said it, and that's exactly what happened.
That's where the psychological damage gets really deep for Jake Paul. Physical healing happens over time, but mental recovery is infinitely harder. After the fight, Jake claimed he hurt Anthony Joshua in spots, said he won certain rounds. Sure, that's natural human denial kicking in, but his body language told the real story. The slow exit from the arena, the bank stare into nothing, the way he spoke without his usual razor-sharp confidence. You could hear it in his tone, something fundamental broke inside. This was his first knockout loss in his entire boxing journey. Decision losses hurt your record and bruise your pride, but getting knocked unconscious changes how you see yourself as a fighter. It forces questions you can't edit out or algorithm away. Jake has always been masterful at controlling narrative, find new opponents, create fresh angles, spin new storylines. But when you're put away like that, unconscious and unable to continue, there's no spin available. The difference between losing and being stopped is psychologically massive. Decision losses let you argue and debate. Knockouts end all conversation permanently. Your ego doesn't just take damage, it shatters completely. Suddenly the shortcuts don't seem so clever. Suddenly the risks feel bone-deep real. And suddenly the sport stops feeling like content creation and starts feeling like actual warfare with permanent consequences. That shift didn't just affect Jake personally, it rippled through his entire operation. Logan Paul felt it deeply too. Before the fight, Logan was loud and supportive, riding the wave like always, backing his brother publicly. After the knockout, that energy disappeared entirely, because the Paul brand was always built on total controlled chaos, controlled narratives, controlled rhythm. For the first time, they lost control completely and publicly. You can't edit hospital footage into victory content. You can't spin a broken jaw into a win. You can't protect your brother from physics and reality. That's when spectacle becomes personal. And that's the quiet aftermath nobody prepared for. The moment where everyone, fans, promoters, other fighters, had to ask a real question. How far is too far in this influencer boxing experiment? This wasn't entertainment gone accidentally wrong. This was a reality check delivered at heavyweight velocity. Once that door opens to genuine consequences, you can't slam it shut again. Jake Paul didn't just lose a fight on his record, he lost the illusion that rules bend indefinitely in his favor. Once that illusion breaks completely, every forward step feels infinitely heavier. This fight quietly murdered the entire concept of safe crossover boxing as a sustainable business model. The unspoken agreement was always perfectly clear to industry insiders. Influencers play in the shallow end where it's safe, never in the deep water with apex predators. Jake Paul crossed that boundary deliberately, and Anthony Joshua made absolutely certain no one forgets it. This wasn't hype colliding with hype in manufactured drama. This was hype running headfirst into levels it could never reach regardless of effort. Overnight, promoters got nervous about future bookings. Fighters became cautious about accepting these crossover opportunities. Fans stopped treating the whole thing as comedy. Real boxers don't need influencer paychecks badly enough to risk becoming the next cautionary tale. Jaw reconstructed, brand questioned, legacy damaged. That single knockout sent shockwaves through the entire crossover combat world. For Jake, no clean escape routes remain available. The record is permanent now, etched in stone. First knockout defeat, second loss overall, no rematch leverage to demand, no moral victory to claim. Fans split between sympathy and "I told you so." Sponsors scrutinize risks more carefully now. Opponents think twice before signing contracts. Credibility suddenly carries a real price tag. The final truth is brutally simple. Boxing doesn't care about follower counts or social media influence. Dana White didn't personally defeat Jake Paul. Reality handled that job efficiently. Anthony Joshua didn't just add another win to his record. He enforced a boundary that desperately needed enforcement. This wasn't scandal or controversy. This was gravity doing what gravity always does, pulling everything back to earth eventually.